Let's read my first book of the year together. I bought The Raven Scholar a few months back, but I hadn't gotten to it yet because I had a list of books that I wanted to read before the end of last year, and unfortunately The Raven Scholar just didn't quite fit in before the end of the year. B, I also wanted to make a reading vlog of this, and I only recently got the time to actually do that. So Raven Scholar is going to be my first book of the year, and I thought I would share my experience with the first book of 2026. So here we are, finally. I have kind of high expectations for this book. Maybe not high expectations, but I expect to enjoy it based on reviews that I've heard about it. But honestly, I don't actually know what to expect from this book other than what's on the back of the book. So I'll give you a little overview of the plot. In the world of The Raven Scholar, the Emperor is chosen through a trial. The contestants are selected through monasteries dedicated to one of the 8 guardians, which are animal gods, and the winner becomes the Emperor and rules over Orin for 24 years, at which point another trial is held and a new Emperor is chosen. So the time has come for a new Emperor and another trial, except to kick this trial off, one of the contestants is murdered. Very auspicious start to the trials. And in her place, the title of contestant is thrust upon our main character, Nima Kra. Nima is an incredibly talented scholar and not at all equipped to be participating in a trial of this description. So not only does she have to attempt to survive the trials, she also has to attempt to solve the murder of her predecessor. This vlog is going to contain mild spoilers, so if you haven't read this book and you don't want any spoilers whatsoever, you want to go in with a completely blank slate, I will also be having a completely spoiler-free review at the end of this video, so you can skip right ahead to that. If, however, you've read this book already or you just don't care about spoilers, let's get reading. Welcome to the vlog. I think I've probably put a little introduction video at the beginning of this. I have started the book already. I'm over 100 pages in. The first 2 main inciting incidents have kind of just happened. So I feel like we're still in the beginning of the book enough. It's, I think, over 700 pages. So there's still a good chunk of the book left for me to discuss. I'm about to have lunch. I just filmed my November and December reading wrap up. I've got water boiling. I'm having leftovers for lunch, so I just need to put some rice on. And while I was doing that, I wanted to make myself a matcha because I have a matcha home kit now. Yeah, so this morning I literally just filmed the video. And I intentionally wrote short notes for my video for the November, December reading wrap up, and I was pretty good at sticking to them. And I was like, yes, I'm going to have a short video for once. Tell me why I still spent an hour recording. Oh, it's fine. I know I'm a yapper and I can't help it, but I thought with this one, I was like, I've only read 5 books. It's gonna be a short video. It was not, but anyway, it's New Year's Day. It's officially 2026, which is crazy. I don't know how it doesn't feel like New Year's. I don't know why, but anyway, yeah, I didn't really do much. I read The Raven Scholar for a little bit, and I also wrote a little bit of my book. And I watched the new episode of Percy Jackson, episode 5. Dare I say best episode yet? I'm so happy with season 2 so far. It feels like the book come to life. It makes me so happy. When season 1 came out, I celebrated by having blue pancakes for breakfast, but I have not had the chance to do that yet. So this morning I made myself some blue pancakes, which you've probably seen. While I am getting my lunch and my matcha ready, I thought I would take the time to discuss what's been happening in the Raven Scholar so far and actually get this video on to the topic that it's supposed to be. This is my little matcha kit, by the way. My sister gave it to me for my birthday. It's from Matcha Lane, which is Sophie Jane's matcha company. I'll link it down below. She's another Australian YouTuber. But anyway, let's actually get onto the topic of this video, the Raven Scholar. Having started the book, I am really enjoying it so far. At first, it starts off with a different character than the main character. And at first I was like, who the heck is this other person, the main character, that they mention on the back of the book? So like the first few chapters are kind of like a big epilogue. And the paw, here we go. Hey Georgie. I love this. This is a good one. Anyway, okay, finally let me get on track again. It's like the third time, maybe fourth time I've said that. Chapter 16, 157 pages in. I'm fuzzy on whether this is a like contest to the death. I don't know if this is that kind of trial, but I feel like most trials like that usually are. I don't know yet. I feel like we haven't actually crossed that bridge. I thought the back of the book said that Nima competes in the trials, but it just says it falls, then one of them is murdered. It falls to the brilliant but idiosyncratic Nima Kra to investigate. If Nima succeeds, she could win the throne, whether she wants it or not, but if she fails, she will sentence herself to death and set in motion a sequence of events that could doom the empire. Does that not imply that she competes in the contest? So anyway, we have just gotten to the point, 150 pages in, where the contender gets murdered, but I'm really enjoying it so far. I believe that this is an adult book, but the overall tone is kind of different to typical adult books. It's like kind of goofy at times. The writing style, it's got a little bit of a humor to it. I'm liking the writing style so far. However, there have been at least 3 occasions where there have been like enjoy the simple things in life. Unironically, I think, which I don't know how I feel about that, especially in a high fantasy novel. It just feels so real world, like millennial kind of thing, and that kind of took me out of it because it was like a legitimate kind of heartfelt interaction between 2 characters where it was like, it's the simple things, isn't it? Okay. Please excuse the microwave in the background. Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about that, but other than that little interesting interaction, truly having a fun time so far. One thing I don't understand, Nima is disliked by literally everyone. She has no friends. Everyone kind of mocks her at court. She obviously like works in the court. She works for the emperor. So she's around a lot of courtiers a lot. She is part of the Raven guild sect, and none of her fellow Ravens like her. There's a reason for that. Like earlier in her childhood, one of the other Ravens did something, was like mean to her or mocked her or whatever, and now like she's just shunned by everyone because that person is loved by everyone. And part of the reason they treat her like that is because this lighting is really annoying me, because she's a commoner. But my thing is, the current emperor did a lot of reform so that anyone could enter the like guilds or like come to court or work their way up in life, so you don't have to come from a noble family. And my thing is like, there has to be so many commoners now. Like the emperor himself is kind of like essentially a middle class from what I gather. So purely based on the fact that she's a commoner, is that really a reason for no one to dislike her? Because there has to be a lot of other commoners at court by now. So that doesn't really make sense to me. The other reason people don't like her, allegedly, is her personality. And she's a bit of a know-it-all, I guess, but there was one interaction. It's like the welcoming ceremony of the trials, and she sat at a table with a couple of the contestants and a couple other courtiers, and Nima is in control of the entire event. Like, she planned it, she's organized it, this is her event, right? So when this person mentions something about the food or whatever it is they mention, she goes into like a little bit of an explanation about the background of the decisions, because this is based on the first welcoming ceremony of the first trial that ever happened in this kingdom, right? So she gives some context and she's like, well, in the first one, like, they did this, but that wasn't really feasible for us, so we kind of changed it to do this instead. And she goes on a bit of a tangent. She like stops talking. She realizes that everyone at the table is laughing at her or trying not to laugh at her for going off on this tangent. And I was like, first of all, how rude can you be? Second of all, why is that worth laughing at? I was interested. If I was a person at this really big event that's like extravagant and is like based on previous historical event, I'd be interested to know the decisions, like the reason behind the decisions. And like, what do you mean? Even the nice people were laughing at her, and I was just like, why? I don't see why that's worth laughing at. And if that's why people dislike her so strongly, just because she spouts random facts sometimes, like, seriously? Like, that's why you mock her? That's why you like hate her? Because she's a bit of a know-it-all sometimes? It's not like she's a malicious know-it-all, as in like she puts people down for knowing. At least maybe she does and we just haven't seen that yet. But she just like, she loves knowledge. She has the itch. She described it literally as when someone, this could be annoying, but when someone gets a fact wrong or someone mentions something and she knows a fact about it, she's like, it's like an itch that she has to say it and get it out of her system. And I just don't think that's worthy of like her being despised by the entire court. So I'm confused on that front. Maybe I'm just similar to Nima and everyone would also hate me there, so that's why I don't understand. I also really despise Gaida, one of the other Raven people. She's so obnoxious. Anyway, I'm going to go eat my lunch. I've got leftover stir fry. Don't know how these two are going to go together, but oh well. Yeah, so I'm going to probably watch something while I eat and then start editing, and I will update you a bit later when I've read a little bit more. Welcome to my Raven Cycle. Whoa, wrong book, wrong series. Welcome to my Raven Scholar vlog. Very all over the place intro. I will talk to you soon. Okay, I finished lunch. Have to say, stir fry and chicken stir fry and matcha. Can't say it's my favorite mixture of flavors, but still a really great matcha. So okay, so it's been a few days, a couple days since I last checked in with you guys. I'm now on page 328, so I am, I think, just over halfway. I'm really enjoying it. Also, apologies if you can hear my aircon in the background. Can confirm, again, mild spoilers ahead, can confirm Nima is competing in the trials. The trials are not a fight to the death though. Sometimes people die, but it's not like the last one out on top, if that makes sense. It's not like a Hunger Games kind of fight. Our murder mystery has also started now. Where I'm at currently on like 328, page 328, whatever I just said, we have discovered who the killer was. Back where I left you when we were still like just starting to investigate what was going on, I did not have the correct murderer. However, there are two parts to it, so there's still someone else that Nima has to find that isn't the murderer. And I don't know who it is. I have one particular suspect. There's another one who is like kind of the obvious choice, but I just don't think it's them. And they've already, what do you call it? They have an alibi. Things are getting really crazy now though. I have been loving the interactions between all the contenders. The banter is really fun, and also the Raven. We sometimes get chapters or like certain passages in a chapter from the Raven's perspective, and they're just kind of silly. They're a little bit dramatic, and I have also really liked their chapters. except for one, we were going back in history, back in time, and going through like one character's origin story, which was interesting, but by the time it was over I was like, okay, cool. I wanted to be back with Nima. Speaking of Nima, I love her, and I still don't understand why every single character hates her. Oh, I lied. Nima does have a friend. She has made a friend. Am I kind of sus of that friend? Yes. We kind of have a pre-established love interest in the beginning of the book. I don't know if that's gonna be like endgame. Also, I don't know if this is a standalone. Haven't looked into that. But anyway, my suspicions are that Nima's love interests are going to be between Kane, Shal, and Ruko. It's mentioned too many times that they're all really handsome. Maybe not so much Shal. So that's my predictions in terms of love interests. I also don't know what the Raven's like goal is with its interest in Nima. Part of the thing with the murder is that the weapon that was used is a cursed blade, and when that, I'm pretty sure it said when that blade is used to like draw blood, the 8 will come out of hiding, or the 8 will return or something, which are the 8 animals, the 8 sacred animals. The world will end, or a massive war will break out. I don't know, man, something along those lines. That cursed blade was used. So I'm wondering if something like that is going to happen, and that's why the Raven has shown up and taken an interest in Nima, similar to the beginning of the story with the Empress from the beginning, and they have to guide Nima to prevent the end of the world. You know, I don't really know in terms of that plot point, but it has been interesting with the Raven. Also, speaking of the Raven, I think Nima has like mild magical powers, unless it's just her way of thinking through things, but she said a couple times like she projected herself into the future to like see how an event would play out. And I don't know if that's a magic Raven ability, or if that's again like just her thinking of a scenario, but at the same time she doesn't believe in magic or doesn't believe in the 8. So I'm kind of conflicted, because if she does have that power, then obviously magic exists. Anyway, I think we will probably get to know more about the magic later on. The plot is definitely keeping me engaged. I'm liking the mystery, like the murder mystery side of things. It's not taking a necessarily basic route, I guess. I mean, maybe it is if you've read quite a few mysteries. I personally have not. It's just gotten a lot more interesting. Oh, a lot more interesting. Because turns out the person who was murdered left a note for Nima, specifically for Nima, in the event that she died. So like she knew it was gonna happen, which is just really confusing, especially if you have read the book and you know who the person who was murdered is. I'm just quite concerned for Nima now. So that's my update for now. I've been thoroughly enjoying myself. I'm gonna do some drawing at the moment, and then I might read a little bit before bed. But yeah, I will talk to you when I have something else to update on. Bye. Some crazy stuff has just happened. The reason the Raven is interested in Nima, I don't know why it's specifically Nima, unless it's just because she's the most like, she's the best option out of all the Raven scholar people, Raven followers. We now know why they're here. The dragon has had some vision about the future, and Nima, again, mild spoilers, I feel like this is implied from the beginning, but the Raven is being sent to stop it through Nima. That's my brownie. 1 second. Okay, I'm back. The vision. I don't trust it. I feel like the vision is wrong. I feel like one particular event has to happen for that vision to occur. I don't know. I get a feeling in my gut. Maybe I'm just delusional because of who is involved in the vision, but I feel like it's wrong. I don't know. And then we've also now found out who not who the killer was, but who the thief was, and who like did some other stuff. Did not suspect, but when they were first introduced, I was like, kind of sus, don't really know what their vibe is. And then I just like didn't think about it again because they're a nice character. But something is still fishy about that whole situation, even though we found out who the thief was. I think we're still missing information. There's also like something another thing, something fishy about Kane that's going on. I feel like he's keeping secrets. I mean, obviously he's a fox, but I don't know, there's something else about him. But he doesn't believe in magic, so I'm like, unless that's a ruse. Again, it's still interesting me. I think it's just been a fun book. I spent this morning editing, doing some like bits and pieces. I need to finish editing. I only have like one more thing to do, 2 more things to do, and then I will export that video. And then the rest of the afternoon, I maybe want to spend some time drawing. Otherwise, I will keep reading for the rest of the afternoon. Alrighty, that is all for this update. I will talk to you soon. Okay, don't mind my hair because I just washed it and it's looking a little bit crazy, but I feel like I just figured something out. There is a character who is in, again, mild spoiler, but like you won't know who it is until it happens, I don't think. There's a character who's in the prison cells. There's nobody in these prison cells except for one other person, and I think I know who it is. It's out of 2 people, but it's kind of a crazy development if it is. The plot twist that was revealed earlier is possibly a lot darker than initially suspected. If it's one person, if it's another, I don't know why they would be there without spoiling too much. Things are heating up. Also, Nima just did like some very badass things and I'm loving it. But I am now on, what page? 414. Ooh, I'm a little scared for the next scene. Okay, I'll update you later. I'm just about to read like the big fight of the book. I think this might be like one of the final fights. I'm on chapter 56, or like one of the fights that we've been building up to throughout a lot of this book. And I was going to jump on here and tell you my prediction for who is going to win the fight, but then I realized I had kind of already spoiled myself when I was flicking through the book to check how many pages it was, unless that was just like the name being mentioned. Regardless though, I was going to pick that person as the person that will survive, if only one of them survives. I feel like there's also a possibility that both of them do, but this person I think is going to survive because a lot of the story has been revolving around them. I feel like they have to survive. Also, something has just been revealed about one of the other characters, which I kind of suspected from the very beginning because there was just something off about them. Not necessarily in a bad way, but just in a special way. But yeah, anyway, I'm going to spend a little time reading. I don't know when I'll be checking in with you next. Maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow night. Okay, bye. Hello. We're back in my kitchen with the atrocious lighting. Apologies in advance. I don't remember the last time I spoke to you. I think it was Tuesday night. I have worked since then. It's now Friday afternoon. I'm starving. I need some lunch, so I'm gonna get my food. I worked this morning and then I just had to take my car down to the mechanic, which ended up being kind of a fruitless excursion because I just had to book it in for a service. Anyway, so I've not had lunch yet, so I need food, but I thought while I prepare my lunch, I will chat to you about where we're up to with the Raven Scholar. Okay, I just had to remind myself of where I left you off, which was kind of like the big plot twist reveal of the book. That last clip, I think, of a couple clips ago of me reacting, that was the big plot twist reveal, right? Gagged. Okay, we had our last trial. I for sure thought someone was going to die. Not happy. One of my favorite characters has been, they've been apprehended for reasons unknown to us at the moment. We haven't actually touched back on that yet, and I'm really terrified for them. And like, they so don't deserve it. What do you mean? Something else freakish happened, which I kind of suspected from early on in the book. I mean, it was pretty heavily hinted at, I guess. Nima also had like a vision of herself in the future. It doesn't make sense to me, the vision that she saw. I don't know how or why it will come to fruition. I don't know. Also, this absolutely has to be a series, obviously. If this book ends now with what we've learned, it's so many loose ends. I still haven't checked that. I'm still kind of scared to check it now because I'm so close to the end. I may as well wait anyway because I'm so close to the end. I'm kind of scared for what's gonna happen if we're gonna have another like big reveal. Anyway, we're on the home stretch. I'm on chapter 68, page 571. We're nearly there. Okay. I've spent like more than 2 seconds thinking about it, and I think maybe I know what the end is gonna be and what the cliffhanger is gonna be. We, as the reader, know that was like the big massive plot twist, and I feel like that is going to be, we're at an event at the moment. Nima's about to walk into an event, and I feel like this event is going to be the big reveal and possibly the final scene, depending on how long it takes or depending on the outcome of it. I kind of haven't spoken about Nima as a character yet, I don't think, other than her being like annoying, even though I personally don't think she's that annoying. But I have really been liking her as a main character. She has a head on her shoulders when things start going awry, and like a lot of fantasy books, they have this stuff happen and the main characters are just like floating in a bubble of complete unawareness. This is, for example, this is not necessarily something that's happened in The Raven Scholar, but when you can clearly see that like a character is going to betray you or like isn't owning up about something or being shady, and they just like ignore it, they don't notice it. Nina notices it. She's like, nah, I'm having none of that, and she shuts it down. And I'm so thankful for that. So I've been really enjoying the fact that she like uses her brain. Also completely random, but during Nima's fights, she uses a weapon. I think she said they were war fans. So like, you know, the fans that you like, and you, that kind of fan, except it's a war fan, so it's like razor sharp. And I really like that because it feels so unique. I don't think I've read a book where that's been the weapon of choice. Okay, getting back onto like the plot of the book and how I think it's gonna end. I'm rooting for Ruko to have friends again and like not, I don't know, he's supposed to be sort of a villainous character-ish, and I want him to see that that doesn't have to be the way. But if the plot twist at the end is what I'm thinking it's gonna be, I'm kind of scared for his reaction, and I don't know how we're gonna go, but I really hope that it's like he chooses love and friendship. By the way, me at the beginning of reading this going like, oh, I think the romance will be like between Shal and Ruko and Kane, like there are options. It's literally only been one of them the entire time, which I'm glad about. I kind of feel like a lot of just fantasy books, when there are multiple hot guy characters in a book, the female MC is just always paired up with like all of them. It's always an open option. I liked that we had one clear love interest and it wasn't a love triangle situation or anything. annoying like that because, as you may know, I am not a fan of love triangles. Anyway, I'm gonna stop yapping because I need food and my lunch is ready. So that's my little update before we finish the book. Also, the Percy Jackson episode. I'm talking about episode 6, by the way, when they get to Polyphemus's island. The kids, by kids I mean like Walker, Leah, Arian, Dior, Charlie, so locked in. They are just like knocking my socks off with their performances this season, and I don't know how I'm gonna cope with season 3 if this is what we're getting in season 2. Who's surviving that? I certainly will not be, but I can't wait. So sad though, because we've only got 2 more weeks of Percy Jackson, and then I'm gonna have to wait, what, at least another year? Don't talk to me right now. Anyway, food, read, I'll talk to you later. Bye. Hi, I'm back again. So I obviously recorded the intro after having finished the book, just because I think I mentioned earlier in the video I wasn't sure how I wanted to structure this. I also was maybe going to include a full spoiler review after my spoiler-free review. However, this video is probably gonna be like 2 hours long if I do that, so we are just sticking with the spoiler-free review and the mild spoilers throughout the video. So yeah, the time has come for my review of this book, what I thought of it. I've got my matcha ready and made for my little drink while I chat to you about it, and I wanted to wear purple for, you know, to match the book and to be part of the Raven, but I actually don't have anything purple. I don't have any purple clothes. Oh no, I do have a dress I could have worn. Too bad. I'm wearing black because, I mean, technically ravens are black, so I'm still part of it. It's fine. Let us get into my review. Ugh, my back is not happy right now. Just turned 20, but I'm apparently like 80 years old. I had a great time with this book. When I really got into it, anytime that I wasn't at home reading this book, I was thinking about this book, and I wanted to be at home reading this book. It was really engaging. There were only 2 moments throughout the entire book where I felt like my interest slipping a little bit, where I felt some boredom creeping in. So during sort of flashback scenes that were shown to us by the Guardians, which I think is just a me thing. There have been other books where that sort of thing has happened. We've gotten a flashback of a different character that's relevant to the story but not our main character, and I'm just like, this is interesting, and I understand that it gives us context, and like upon rereading this book I'll probably enjoy it a lot more than I do right now, but for now let us go back to the main character and the current story timeline. That's just a little thing that I know I'm not a huge fan of in books, or that generally tends to drop my attention. The tone of this book was kind of interesting. This is an adult fantasy, but it remains fairly lighthearted throughout pretty much the entirety of the book, which I feel isn't typical for adult fantasies. You know, you have your camp of middle grade and YA fantasy, which is like lighthearted and easy to read and kind of silly, and then you have adult fantasy where it's serious and like this is dark stuff happening, which is a generalization obviously, but as I mentioned I think a couple times throughout the blog, there were so many just silly, goofy moments in this book where it's like lines of dialogue or descriptions of certain things, or like one-liners from Nima in her head to us. This book, I felt like this book just didn't take itself too seriously, and it definitely has its darker plot points, don't get me wrong, like it has more kind of sinister things going on, but I think the beginning and the end of the book are the most intense, like darkest parts of the book, where we like really focus on those heavier plot points. I've read many a I've read many a YA book that were way darker. Again, not to say that adult fantasies are required to be darker in tone, but it's just, you know, a stereotype of adult fantasy. So in a way, the fact that the Raven Scholar is told in a more lighthearted, humorous way is kind of refreshing. So like, if you're kind of sick of the doom and gloom adult fantasies, give this one a shot, because genuinely it was funny. It was hilarious. It also isn't super heavy on world building. For me personally, coming off of The Hero of Ages by Brandon Sanderson, the world was not too complex and there weren't an excessive amount of pages giving us like exposition. The world was relatively easy to understand, although I would say this book potentially leans too far to like a lack of world building. For example, the guardians, the 8 like animal gods, how do they work? Where are they from? What are they? They're not really explained. It's explained in the very end of the book because it's, I think, supposed to be a sort of plot twist, but at the same time it's just mentioned and we don't get into it. And like, some characters in this book, in this world, don't even believe in magic, but there's like multiple instances where magic happens. Like, I don't know, it's kind of, the magic is, I just wouldn't be able to explain it to you whatsoever. Where this book shines, in my opinion, is the plot and the interactions between the characters. Like I said before, the plot is really engaging. We have the trials, the murder mystery that Nima is trying to solve, some weird stuff going on with the guardians, a little bit of a romance plotline, very, very subplot, very minimal, don't get excited, and some other bigger picture plot stuff happening in the background. I liked that with the murder mystery, it wasn't just one clear solution. There were multiple characters that genuinely could have had a motivation and like could have done it. And Nima actually explored like a number of different suspects, and it kept building from where it started as a simple murder case. Because, you know, murder cases are just so simple and boring. Like, give me some excitement, honestly. I have to say the trials weren't my favorite trials that I've ever read. I feel like in certain moments the intensity was there, the like urgency. They have an individual trial for each guardian, for each animal, that's catered to like the specific traits related to that animal. And I think that some of the trials in that portion were unique. They weren't just like, I don't know, running a race or something. Nima also didn't get thrown into these trials, which she's not prepared for at all, and just immediately become natural. She did struggle a little bit, although in some ways she did kind of have an easy go of it. And for reasons which I can't explain, I don't think I spoiled this in my vlog, so I can't really explain it. There's a reason why at some point she does, it happens a little bit easy for her, but it wasn't so much that it took me out of the book and I was like, okay, this is unrealistic, she would never win any of this stuff. Now onto Nima. I loved her as the main character. She is smart and she actually demonstrates that. She's mature, she's over 30, and she actually acts it. not like some like 16-year-old child. She has this like softer emotional side to her, which is quite endearing. She's emotionally mature, which, except for a couple characters which she just like hates full stop, for good reason. She can recognize nuances in people's actions and their personalities, and she doesn't write them off as just like, oh, they're evil, they're a horrible person, and hate them for some petty reason. And she's actually quite forgiving of people and offers them chances and says like, I know you're going through this thing right now, and I know the way that you're acting is kind of like maybe a coping mechanism or a defense mechanism, and like that's cool, but like I'll still be here if you want to stop doing that and like maybe be friends or something like that. But she's also tough as nails. She's got grit. She's going up against all these other contenders that have practiced and trained for these trials pretty much their entire lives, and she doesn't give up and cave to self-pity. She actually gives it her all and tries, and she does a pretty decent job. For the side characters, I actually really like them all. Not the ones that we were supposed to find annoying, because they were annoying. Although I will say that Antonia was really good at characterizing each of the characters and like giving them a thorough personality, even if they were like minor side characters, you know? Simply in like little behaviors and things. I really enjoyed that. But all the other cuties, all our other side characters that, you know, aren't meant to be irritating, I think I will become very attached to them in the second book. Not quite as attached to them yet in the first book, except for like one or two. And yes, the second book, because this is in fact a series. And kind of onto my final point, as much as I enjoyed this book and I had a really great time with it, it's not a 5-star for me. I can't pinpoint exactly why. It just didn't give me that 5-star feeling. I feel like possibly depending on where we go, what direction we head with the second book could maybe be a 5-star for me, because I do feel like the Raven Scholar falls into the category of I've read this kind of book before, but I will definitely be tuning into the second book whenever it comes out, and I'm very excited for when that happens. Anyway, The Raven Scholar is a fantastic book. Definitely a book you should pick up, especially if you are looking for, like I said, that more light-hearted adult fantasy with, in my opinion, a very likable main character and sensible. Maybe people won't like Nima. See, I'm correlating her to Scarlet Dragna from the Caravel series, and no one likes Scarlet. I like Scarlet. No, I'm sure people like Nima. I'm sure people like Nima. How could you not? Also, how could you not like Scarlet? Sorry. Completely off topic. Anyway, in my opinion, The Raven Scholar has a very likable main character. And yeah, that is my review of The Raven Scholar. I'm really glad that I finally got to pick this up. And yeah, it was just a really fun read. A great way to kick off the beginning of the year. Now though, I need a non-fantasy book, because this thing is chunky, and if you watch my previous video, I've just come off of the Hero of Ages, Jade City, Jade War, and my brain is like fried. I need at least 3 romance books to switch off and recalibrate my brain before I can head back into another fantasy book. So I will sign off here. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I had a really fun time. As I said, reading this book. I hope this review was helpful for you and maybe you pick this up. Let me know if you read this book, what were your thoughts? Let me know down below. I have my Goodreads, my Instagram, my Storygraph, and my Ko-fi all linked down below if you want to check them out. And I will see you all next time. Bye!